Very good afternoon to all. This is our fourth day of our presentation, and I'm going to give my presentation on a topic Dhvani theory in Indian aesthetics. These are my personal information. Those are some points which I am going through in my presentation. First, introduction, then meaning of Dhvani theory of Anandvardhan, Dhvani theory in Indian poetics, Shabda and Artha, response upon Dhvani theory from ChatGPT, then conclusion and then citation. So, I would like to start my presentation with introduction of Indian aesthetics. India before the coming of Muslims is full of surprises, and none is more surprising than that authorities do not agree as to the role or even the existence of art in India. In Troy Organ's article, Indian Aesthetics, Its Technique and Assumptions, Heinrich Zimmer begins his book, The Art of the Indian Asia, with this confident statement that Indian art, beside documentary the history of a majestic civilization, opens a comparatively simple, delightful way into the timeless domain of the Hindu spirit. For it, readers in eloquent visual forms the whole message that India holds in keep for mankind. Then, what is the meaning of Dhvani? So, the Dhvani is a word in Sanskrit whose primarily meaning is sound. It may articulate human speech or articulate animal cries. It may also be noise, melodies, or jarring pros- uh, produced by musical instruments or weaving machinery. It is a far cry for the literal meaning of Dhvani. To its profound connection as the core essence or soul of poetry. In music, we have tone, time, timbre, and resonance associate with sweet sounding notes. Then Anandvardhan. Anandvardhan belongs to the 9th century. Before that, there were many Alankariks who focus on Shabda and Artha and lingers around the word and its meaning. Because poetry is defined as Shabda Artha Sahito Kavyam. Poem is the a combination of Shabda and Artha. Earlier poetics like Vamaha, Dhandin, and Vaman, all those people concentrated on the Shabda and Artha, which is the body of the poem and that is causing beauty to the poem. He developed a new theory and pointed out that words of great poets continue to resonate in our hearts and give numerous meanings as one reflects on it. So, in poetry, the shabda and arthas are more important because for that poetry define beautiful and readers like to read it. Dhvani theory in Indian aesthetics. Dhvani is a suggested sense the most significant part of the poetry. To know what is this Dhvani, one should understand the function of the word and go through the Dhvanyaloka. Grammarians and Alankarikas, they mention there are three such functions of the word: Abhidha, Lakshana, and Vyanjana. So first one is Abhidha. There is a function of the word which signifies or denotes. It is a primarily sense like this is Mukesh and this is red color. So it's a direct meaning. And the second is lakshana. The function of the lakshana is to indicate, and when the primarily sense is abstracted, the word conveys a sense other than the primarily sense but related to it. And the third is Vyanjana. The meaning of this Vyanjana of the word is not limited to its primarily sense, but much more than that. It has the power to reach beyond the obvious. And abhita is a function which gives a direct meaning. The word is called vachaka, and the meaning is vachartha. Lakshana is the function, it gives secondary sense, and lachaka is the word, and lachartha is the meaning. Then third is Vyanjana, and this Vyanjana is a suggestion, and Vyanjarka is a word, and Vyanjartha is its meaning. There was much debate under suggestive meaning, thought not implicit, far more beautiful and sensitive because the object of awareness is regarded as the essence of poetry. The Dhvani theory of Anandvardhan focus on the potential of suggestive sense in poetry. Shabda with its Vachakta is form the body of Kavya, but the essence of Ras can be perceived only through suggestion. Then Shabda and Artha. This is Shabda and Artha is important in the poetry. Shabda and Artha, the word and the meaning, they are the body of Kavya. Like how human beings have the body and the inner soul is there. That inner soul he considered as it as Dhvani. Dhvanyaloka is divided into four chapters. They are called um, uh, Ujjota. And that way, the whole text is written in three parts. The first is Karika, then the second is Vyakti, and third is examples. In the first chapter of the Dhvanyaloka, he establishes Dhvani by refusing all the objects, by answering all the questions and doubts of the anti-Dhvani scholars. The second chapter deals with the varieties of Dhvani from the standpoints of its suggested Vyangya. The third chapter deals with the varieties of Dhvani form, the standpoint of the suggestion Vyanjaka. And the fourth deal with the endless of the creative imagination of the poet and main rus in Ramayana and Mahabharata. And this is the response of Dhvani theory in aesthetics, which I taken from ChatGPT. So it answered it like this way, like elaborate the Dhvani theory is a central concept in Indian aesthetics, particularly in the field of literary criticism. The theory is based on the idea that the primary function of poetry and other forms of literature is to evoke emotions and feelings in the reader of or listener. According to Dhvani theory, there are two types of meaning in literature: the explicit or surface meaning and the suggested or implied meaning. While the surface meaning is conveyed through the words and sentence of the text, the suggested meaning is not directly expressed but is instead evoked through suggestion or implications. Then the Dhvani theory distinguishes three types of suggested meanings. The first is Vyangya or elusive suggestion. So this is the first type of Dhvani. And this is a suggestion that refer to something else, such as a cultural or mythological reference, which the reader or listener is expected to understand and interpret. Then second is vastu or objective suggestion. This refers to the emotions and feelings that are evoked in the reader leader or listener by the words and imagery of text. Alankar, and the third one is alankar or ornamentation. This refers to the literary devices uses in text such as metaphors, similes, and other figures of speech, which contribute to the suggested meaning of the text. The Dhvani theory suggests that the suggested meaning is the most important aspect of literature, as it has the power to evoke emotions and feelings in the reader or listener. It is through the suggested meaning that the literary work achieves its aesthetic value, and the reader or listener experiences the rasa or aesthetic pleasure. Overall, the Dhvani theory emphasizes the importance of the suggested meaning in literature and the power of suggestion to evoke emotions and feelings in the reader or listener. So, conclusion: it is a truth that poets focus their attention first and foremost in the explicit sense. However, this fact does not imply that Dhvani is unimportant or undervalue. A man eager to view things is seen looking for the torque first as a means of achieving His goal. Then the torque isn't end in itself; it's only a tool for achieving another goal. Poets likewise are interested in the explicit sense as a means of communicating their other ideas in a suggestive manner. The suggested concepts are the goal that the poets use to drive their selection of other subjects. These are my work cited. Thank you. And anyone have a question, then you can ask me.
My question is, what is the contribution of Anand Vardhana in Dhvani?
Uh, Anand Vardhan was a leading figure in 19th century, and before him there were many Alankarikas who believes that shabdas and arthas are more important in poetry, and before because of it poetry become interested, and beauty that thing beautify poetry. And Anand Vardhan was a leading figure, was contributed in many important things in poetry.
Not there beauty also. It is not posted yet.
How does Dhvani contribute to the overall emotional impact of a literary work?
Dhvani theory is important in Indian poetics. This is in this theory. Anand Vardhan was leading figure in this theory, and in this the Dhvani theory, many. Dhvani theory is important in poetry because of its elements. Poetry become poetry beautify and reader read it. So that's why Dhvani is important, and it implies emotional things in literature. So thank you.